feeling, a great feeling from Jimmy Lakey. Jimmy Lakey in the morning makes me feel alive. Woke me up this morning, now I'm up and on my way. Oh, 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 yeah, what a great way to start your day, the Lakey way.
Well, top of the morning to you, everybody. How you doing? It's Tuesday, the day the Lord has made, April the 29th, 2025. Glad to have you here on the program. It's Lakey Unleashed. If you're new to the show, listening on a streamcast or a podcast or however you're listening to the program, I'm Jimmy Lakey. Pleasure to be here. The choir has aptly informed you of my name and the pronunciation. And for years, corporate radio kept me in confinement. I did corporate radio for many years. And after I was shown the door of corporate radio, after 10 years of service at one station and 20 years overall in Colorado, plus 20 plus years, I decided to, hey, I'm going to be unleashed from the confines of corporate radio, and here we are together, unleashed, covering the news of the day and going over all the great things that are happening in the world around us, and even also some of the crappy things that are happening in the world around us today. The news, top story, is going to be this Donald Trump's 100th day in office. Day number 100. He's going to have a big rally in Michigan. The White House press room was up and going early yesterday, touting the victories and touting all the great things they believe that Donald Trump has done. I will give you, this is not on the schedule for a question of the day, but do you give him an A, B, C, D, E, or F? Wherever you're listening to the program this morning, why don't you jump in on that comment? Feel free to give your assessment of the very first 100 days of the Trump presidency. Is it as impactful as you think? It obviously was a whirlwind. There was never a dull day. How much of it really changes America for the long term? I mean, he enforced the laws that we already had at the border. And so all you got to do is have another lawless president like Joe Biden open the borders up again, and we're back to hell in the handbasket. But I think the border is probably his number one success as far as you can touch it, you can feel it, you can see it, you can measure it, you can quantify it. I think the border is definitely there. Some people say, well, the economy, first of all, the price of eggs has come down. But the second thing I think I've noticed about that is a lot of the economic stuff has to get through a budget cycle, and you have to you're going to have to get some things passed to the Congress and some tax cuts. So there's more solvency as far as and commitment. And we know what our tax rate's going to be. The same way that people say Donald can't keep going back and forth on tariffs, America and businesses can't keep going back on whether the Trump tax cuts are going to expire. So there's a lot of things that I don't think you're going to see in the economy in 100 days. But I think we do have the proof in the pudding of the first term of the Trump administration that by year 2, year 3, before the COVID hit, the economy was booming. And everybody knew the economy was booming, and it was some of the same policies that took him a little while to get him in place, but he will. And so we'll see. So give a year grade. Donald Trump's 100th day in office today. What are your grades? Do you give an A, a B, a C? What do you find wanting? What were you very pleased with? And what do you think the next 100 days will look at? We'll kind of look forward. I think a lot of folks are going to look past what's happened the last 100 days. We'll look forward and to see what still needs to happen. Because believe it or not, by the time you get another 100 days in here, you're going to be then heading towards the holidays and the fall breaks and winter, and then excuse me. And then next year, you're going to be facing midterm elections. So time is of the essence, but I think it was very effective. 100 days. I think it was very entertaining 100 days. And I just hope the next 100 days are just as effective, even more so. And I hope they're entertaining, but all the impact is not just going to come from Donald Trump and his executive orders, because executive orders are temporary. You need Congress to get into gear and pass and make some of this stuff permanent. So we talked about this on the program. A lot of folks were very excited. Every day he was holding court, signing executive orders. That's great. But executive orders are worth just about the paper they're written on after the president has gone from office, because the next guy goes in and rescinds all the previous executive orders. So you need Congress to participate greatly in the next 100 days. And people say Congress didn't do anything yet. Well, they are working through the budget bills. They did do a couple of things. And you have to remember they got 21 cabinet members approved for Donald Trump. Pretty much everybody that was put out into nomination officially and had a hearing actually got through, and so that was a bbig number, and that took up a lot of time in the U.S. Senate, a lot of effort and energy. And don't take that off your radar and think that they didn't do a lot. They got all 21 nominees for cabinet positions through, and that is something to say, yeah, that took up a lot of it. They got them done pretty quickly. So anyway, Congress got to take action in the next 100 days. We hope they shall do that indeed. All right, sorry if I occasionally have to turn my head. I've been fighting this allergy-infested cold for over a week now. Last week I took a couple of days off because I had no voice. Now I just sound like I may be Barry White's cousin, and I'm looking at myself going, I keep coughing and stuff, but it's I feel fine, except that I have this little cough thing, and I think it's brought about by the allergies and the stuff that's flying through the air this time of the season. Then I was telling producer Chad, when I was on radio for years, I could just push a button on my desk and cough, and no one would know it. They thought that maybe it just took a long breath or something. But when you're on the vision, with the vision, and you can see me on the video, I can mute my microphone, but I don't want to turn off the camera unless you think you've gone blind in the middle of it. So if I do have a little coughing problem, I apologize. It's just the allergies are getting me. They're getting me. All right, first 100 days of Trump's presidency. What say you? Do you give it an A, a B, a C, or D? We can talk about that throughout the course of the morning. I have another question of the day I want to throw out here. It's a question that we didn't get to yesterday, but there's a new study where scientists say they may have pinpointed the very age when all the bad habits start to catch up with you. You get away with a lot of unhealthy stuff. We all did in our 20s and maybe in our early 30s. But now it gets harder to stay in shape. I always joke and say, well, metabolism happens when you're young, but it doesn't happen when you're, I eat about the same amount that I did when I was a kid, probably less. And it's harder to keep the weight in confines because metabolism, right? So it's harder to stay in shape. And by your 40s, everything it's just things just are like, really? Why is this so hard? Well, there's a new study out where researchers say they may have pinpointed the exact age when bad habits like smoking, drinking, and not exercising start to trigger your health problems. These are the days when the unhealthy bad habits catch up to you. This is the age. And they say that the age in which the bad habits start catching up with you is 36 years of age. Scientists tracked hundreds of children born in 1959, and they tracked them until they were 61. They found that those who regularly smoked, boozed, and lounged around in their younger years ended up sicker and more depressed in their older years. On average, the person's health, when it started to decline, was at the age of 36. One of the researchers said, our findings highlight the importance of tackling risky health behaviors as early as possible to prevent damage from building up over the years. But there's another way you can look at this, my friend. Enjoy the partying into your 30s, and as long as you quit the bad stuff and ask for a gym membership before your 36th birthday, you'll be okay. I mean, however you want to view that. So let me ask you, at which age did your younger lifestyle start to catch up with you? Now, I didn't do the drugs and was not a prolific drinker or anything like that, but I can tell you that when age started to catch up with me was on the waistline, and that probably has to do with my love for bourbon. A lot to do with that. But that didn't happen probably until my 40s. So maybe I was behind the curve on that. But I was also a late drinker, so I didn't drink late. At what exact age and what age did your unhealthy habits start to catch up with you? And what were the habits that started to catch up with you? Love to get your answer on this. This is a question of the day. What age do you think your bad habits that you had as a young man or a young woman started to catch up with you? I always joke with my son and his friends. I always joked as they would make some joke about my hairline. I would always joke, say, well, wait about 10 years, buddy, and you're going to be losing some hair down the shower drain as well. So there's always somebody making fun of you when they're younger, and then by the time they're age 36, according to the survey, their bad habits start to catch up with them. What age did your bad habits start to catch up with you? Again, my bad habits, I have been blessed, knock on wood, with a fairly healthy life, and I hope that continues into the future. The good Lord knows what happens, but I'm telling you, the healthy habits, I would say it's pretty healthy as a younger guy. I'm probably less healthy now by lifestyle choices than I was then. Because I was not a partier in high school or a frat boy in college. I was pretty much minding my P's and Q's, behaving myself. And so I can't say that there's habits from high school and college that caught up with me. But there are probably now. I'm probably catching up as I'm in the 50s now. I'm guessing the habits of drinking in my 40s and liking bourbon have started to catch up with me. Because I have a little extra padding that I don't need in the middle section, but I think that's the whiskey. I think it is, and it's bad. It's bad for you. But producer Chad and I like it way too much. We just enjoy it way too much. All right, there's your question of the day. So 2 questions of the day hopping in out there is: when did your bad habits start to catch up with you? What age? Science says that happens at around the age 36 years of age. 36. If I could remember being 36, I was. Well, I know when I was 36. I was 36 about the years. If I'm doing the math right in my head, that's about the years that I started going to Africa for the first time. And I've seen some photos, my friends, and whoo, it's a glorious sight seeing me. So my bad habits have not caught up with me. That was several pounds ago. But it's about the time of my life that I started to travel to Africa and start Rivers Promise. If I'm doing the math right, I think I am. All right, there's your question of the day. Number 1. Question of the day number 2 is... question of the day number 2 is: how do you rate the Trump presidency in the first 100 days? All right, let's talk about some of this Trump presidency. The second 100 days could also be very interesting. By the way, there's a rally with Trump in Michigan tonight. He's going to be flying to Michigan. And I like the rallies. I think they're a good touch. I think that's Donald Trump being Donald Trump. But it's not a rally that I'm going to necessarily go out of my way to watch. If it happens, I'll probably watch the highlights. I hate to say, how do I say this? And I'm not trying to be critical of the president. You've seen one rally, you've seen them all, right? And I've seen enough President Trump's rallies, and I've attended enough President Trump's rallies that tonight I don't feel the need to necessarily watch the Michigan rally. Now, because I do this daily update, I'll be sure to have some of it in my head, but I'm not sure I'll watch it. Is anybody excited to watch that? I'm sure Fox will cut away, Newsmax will cut away, CNN's going to pretend like the last 100 days haven't happened, MSNBC is going to pretend that it's not happening, but is anybody that excited to watch the Michigan rally? He's going to have one, and I think that's good. I've been saying for a few weeks that President Trump needs to get out of the White House and go touch the people and get back in a little bit more campaign mode as opposed to hold up in the Oval Office perception CEO mode. I think you got to get out there and go shopping for eggs at the grocery store. I think there's some of that needs to happen. So the next 100 days, there's a piece at justthenews.com that as the first dizzying first 100 days of his Trump presidency show no signs of stopping. What's going to happen in the next 100 days. And I think that will be the most interesting. And again, that's where you got to get Congress involved and start codifying some of this stuff that is happening in the Trump executive orders, because the executive orders in and of themselves, say it again, don't mean anything long-term unless you enact those into law, and you got to get that done. That's going to be the interesting part of the next 100 days. All right, let me remind you, coming up on May the 17th, less than 1 month away, is our annual, it's now an annual thing, Casino Gala, benefiting our charity organization, Rivers Promise, where we take care of orphans and vulnerable children in Rwanda. A promise that I made to my son when I adopted him there many, many years ago that I just referenced that first trip back a long time ago. I would like to ask you to do something for me and register. Casino Gala. There's also a poker tournament, all for fun. All the proceeds go to benefit charity. There's going to be door prizes and drawings given away. Going to be some great music. The Frank Sinatra singer that we have has at our last one. He's phenomenal. World-renowned Frank Sinatra. I guess call it impersonator. He'll be there. Derek Abelsizer. And who else is going to be there? Oh, I'll be there. Producer Chad will be there. There's going to be a cash bar, but the food is included in your ticket price, as are the casino games. It's going to be a fun night. May the 17th, it's at the Omni Interlochen Resort in Broomfield. That's just outside of the Denver area, just on their way to Boulder. And it's a beautiful property, and we're going to be there. It's kind of an indoor-outdoor event. They have an outdoor pavilion that, weather permitting, we will be in, and it's going to be a fun night, and we hope that you will come join us. Omni Interlochen Resort, May 17th. Go register at riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org, and get signed up. And by the way, these are table sponsors. I bring 8 people. yourself plus 7. So if you're a boss out there, bring some of your work staff, bring your neighbors. It's a great cause for great charity work. And again, it's presented by Budget Home Supply in Longmont, Colorado. Thanks to the Budget Home Supply folks, they'll have a big table there, and we look forward to partying it up at Casino Gala with them and with you. Riverspromise.org. You can register. You'll see the events tab at the very top, and go click that and register. May 17th. Don't miss it. If you miss it, you're not one of the cool kids anymore. You're not. All the cool kids will be there or here or there. Yeah, they'll be there. Yes, they will. All right, let me bring into the program, if I may. I believe I thought I heard my guest arrive, but maybe I did not. Did my guest arrive? I thought I heard a ding dong, but maybe I did not. There we go. My guest is back. I thought I heard him come in the green room, and then I heard the green room exit, and now the green room is full of excitement because Christopher Moritz is in there. So let me bring up Christopher and tell you exactly what we're going to talk about. Talking about the first 100 days of the Trump presidency, one of the things that's happened in the first 100 days of the Trump presidency is that the governor of California has been trying to make a name for himself. You saw that Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, was out of New Hampshire making a speech that he was calling people to go riot in the streets. Gavin Newsom has been launching a podcast trying to pretend that he's wanting to have a conversation with the world. And it's going to be interesting to watch the next 2 years because some of these people aforementioned will start jumping into the presidential race to try to become the national leader of the Democrat Party. Christopher Moritz is my guest. He's written a book called Failed State, A Portrait of California in the Twilight of Empire. California, if you haven't heard, has now overtaken Japan to become the 4th largest economy in all the world, according to the international and the domestic trackers. But maybe this is Gavin still doesn't deserve bragging rights. Please welcome Christopher Moritz, the author. Welcome in, Christopher.
Hi, pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Let's talk about it. The big news: California becomes the 4th biggest economy according to gross domestic product in the world, and yet there's a lot of problems in California. That's what you unpack in the book.
Yeah, I mean, my book focuses on the issue of crime, partly because I think it's ultimately the most, kind of important qualifier for a government, whether they can protect its people and deliver justice. But then beyond that, also because I was a victim myself in 2023 of a home invasion style burglary 2 nights in a row by a MS-13 gangster who had been deported by Trump after serving 7 years in California State Prison for gun crimes. And then he came back into the country under Biden and went on a crime spree. And in Los Angeles, he committed dozens of these similar types of what's called a hot prowl burglary, which is when someone is in the home at the time of the breach, but there's not necessarily a confrontation. But more or less, it's a home invasion style robbery. And ultimately, in Los Angeles County, this MS-13 gangster was not convicted or not even charged with any of these counts, but only to the north in Ventura County, where they take property crime slightly more seriously, was he convicted on 2 counts of these types of burglaries and sentenced to 2 years, and he'll likely serve less than that. And he got a $300 fine. And when I realized, as I learned about this, just in the course of my own due diligence, that something was fundamentally wrong with this state. And as I started talking to prosecutors and cops, again, to just get a better understanding of how this happened, I came to the realization that this does not happen in a vacuum. It does not happen by accident. This is the result of concerted policies put in place going back to 2010, when California went completely off the rails in terms of criminal justice, and where we adopted, both at the municipal and legislative level, a mindset which prioritizes criminals above citizens, and certainly illegal aliens above citizens. So when I hear that Gavin Newsom is touting this this economic, let's say we went up from fifth to fourth. Yeah, okay, it's great. I love California. I'm proud of that. But I think we have to also step back and say, all right, well, is that a result of inflation? Does that in any way address the fact that the bottom 20% of California makes an income of around $17,000, and the top 1% has an average income of $1.5 million, and it's 67 times between the bottom 20 and the top 10? And like this to me is emblematic of a economy that might be large, but it's also built on stilts. Because when there is such stratification and bifurcation and a hollowing out of the middle class, combined with crime, let's say a crime-friendly environment, then really, if you're looking at California as its own state, right, or its own country even, I would say we're not looking at a healthy society. We're looking at a society that is much more akin to a Latin American plutocracy.
Yeah. By the way, let me stop here. If you're just listening on the podcast later in the day, not live, watching this, and you're just listening on the Spotify or the iHeartRadio or whatever, Apple Podcast, wherever you listen to it, the voice is Christopher Moritz. He's the author of a book called Failed State, A Portrait of California in the Twilight of Empire. Again, the top story is that the IMF, International Monetary Fund, and other people have said California's GDP is now at $4.1 trillion compared to Japan at $4.01 trillion, which means California has edged out Japan for the highest GDP, meaning the fourth largest economy in the world. Christopher Moritz writes about it in his book, Failed State. One of the interesting thing is that I like your comparison that if it is the fourth largest economy, it doesn't mean it's a healthy nation. You go through in the book and you do some historic kind of looks back since whether it's the Bolshevik Revolution of Rhodesia and Mugabe. I mean, and the communists there. There's been other economies that maybe were like looking good, but it didn't mean it was a healthy place or a great place to live. Of all the 50 states here in the United States, California's poverty rate is the highest. So you can say globally we have a high GDP, but you also have the highest poverty rate of any state in the union.
Yeah. Well, do we even have the numbers of GDP per capita? I mean, to me, that's a more indicative of the health of a society than just a raw GDP. I mean, for one thing, as we know, California has become wealth in California has become increasingly concentrated, both not only with respect to individuals and families, but with respect to industry, right? So California used to have the most dynamic, diversified economy in the United States. It's what made California the powerhouse that it became in the post-war period. But the economy of let's say the last 10, 20 years has been one of increasing concentration, not just regionally around obviously Silicon Valley, but even within that around very specific firms, right? So very specific firms driving that are incredibly high margin, driving enormous amounts of growth, but hiring a very, very small sliver of the population. And we can expect that to even get smaller as AI becomes increasingly integrated into industry.
Christopher, I'm broadcasting from Colorado, and of course, people all over America get to hear this on the podcast, the streamcast throughout the day. I was just also down to the state of Texas, and both Colorado and Texas have one thing in common. When something's going wrong, they say, it used to be different until those Californians moved here, and high cost of living in Colorado, I hear it all the time. Our housing costs are way up there. Cost of living has really gone up in the last 10, 15 years. The traffic's bad here. It's not the glorious state it used to be. And people here blame Californians trying to drive till they qualify. They can't afford California, so they come here, they drive up our economy. Texans blame it on the Californians as well. Who do the Californians blame it on? If this is the kind of behavior that people say, well, this is not good, the cost of living is going up, it must be fault of Californians. You guys started this old trend. Who do you blame it on?
Good question. In my book, there's not a single villain, right? It's more of an autopsy of a state that is riddled with cancer, right? And in such a situation, there's not like one exposure that leads to that kind of metastases. So I would say that we could look at it in several different standpoints. One, if the issue of California is that it is a one-party state and has been controlled, let's say, with supermajorities by the Democratic Party and at the state level continuously for 27 years, right? And that in the 1990s and prior to that, California was a mixed state. In some areas, in fact, it was even red. Los Angeles County used to be red until aerospace and defense moved out. So when aerospace and defense moved out and all of those engineering type personnel moved with them, Los Angeles went blue and power shifted to San Francisco. And then as the tech boom of, let's say, the post .com, 2000, 2010 period, then power consolidated around those enclaves to the north, which are very different. But what I would say to your question of who's to blame, well, ultimately who's to blame are the politicians, of course. I mean, they put in place the laws that have basically decriminalized whole, swaths of the penal code. But also the fact that politicians in this state executed a demographic engineering of California that took it from, I think in 1990, we had 18% foreign born, and today we have 27% foreign born. It is incentives like giving illegal aliens world-class healthcare through Medi-Cal programs at the tune of $13 billion a year, and creating sanctuary state policies that prevent local police from even referring an illegal alien criminal to ICE. So this has brought in an underclass of low skill, low wage, indentured servants. The middle class has been squeezed out, and an oligarchy controls all levers of government.
Yeah. The name of the book is called Failed State, A Portrait of California at the Twilight of Empire. Christopher Moritz is my guest. He's the author of the book called Failed State, A Portrait of California at the Twilight of Empire. Christopher, I guess the final question I have for you is that I'm not sure if you at least had a feeling or if you covered this in the book. Is it going to get better? Are people in California finally going to awaken and go, wow, we really screwed this place up. We got to get rid of these people like Gavin Newsom and one-party rule. Is there... please tell me there might be, because we need the same kind of revival, if you will, in Colorado from one-party rule and these policies that are leading us down the path of destruction. Now, what say you about the future of California?
I'm not optimistic. I'll tell you why. Because I live right next to the Palisades. It's basically the next town over from where I am in Santa Monica. The Palisades does not exist anymore. It was leveled as if there had been aerial bombings. And yet the shock of that catastrophe, the unprecedentedness of that catastrophe seems to have now been memory hold.
Wow.
People just don't talk about it. And yet there was never a more dramatic illustration of the failures of this state and of this city than what happened in January. And yet Mayor Karen Bass has not been recalled. There doesn't even seem to be any kind of force behind that sort of effort. And Gavin Newsom is now rebuilding his entire brand image, and apparently successfully. So, Californians do besides like pockets of sanity here and there, as a political economy, we seem committed to committing some sort of social suicide.
Wow.
So.
Christopher Moritz, congrats on the book. I love the conversation. Failed State, A Portrait of California in the Twilight of Empire. The book's available anywhere fine books are sold. I know you're also on Twitter and have a website. I'll let you tell us where those are at.
So my ex is Chris G. Moritz, Moritz. And my book is can be linked through X and also on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Just as you said, wherever books are sold.
Christopher, appreciate you. Thanks for hopping on here this morning. Got to take a quick break. Come back, talk to Laura Carno. It's Carno Tuesday on Lakey Unleashed. It's not just a live streamcast, my friends. It's now a podcast. Make sure you load it up on all of your podcast platforms. Everybody stand by, quick break. And then we come back and we have our Carno Tuesday segment. I know many of you wait with bated breath for that, so please keep your breath bated. We'll be right back. Stand by.
1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning is on call 24/7, even on weekends and holidays. We pride ourselves in our on-time guarantees. In addition to installation and repairs, we offer maintenance services. So no matter when you need us, you can always count on 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning to keep your system running. Check out our family of brands for all of your service needs, including electrical and plumbing.
1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning.
How you holding up? Nothing wrong with getting help.
If I promise to look into it, will you drop it and help me build this fence?
Now you need my help.
If you or a veteran you know needs support, don't wait. Reach out. Find resources at va.gov/reach.
All right, Delilah. If you're listening to me, Delilah, could you remind me to call 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning today? Thank you. I got to get my maintenance check done. I haven't done that yet. Listen, if you're not using 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning and you're in Colorado, especially that I-25 corridor, let's say Fort Collins down to Denver, if you're out in Greeley Way East, they can get you that way as well. But they have a huge coverage area. If you're not using them, I have to ask you, you're very special. Do you wear a helmet in the car to look windows? If you don't have a maintenance check done on your air conditioning, you should. It's a very cost-effective. I have a membership plan with them. I have a monthly membership. And so, therefore, every year they just call me and say, hey, it's time to do your maintenance check. And they come do a maintenance check. And I'll tell you, last fall I did the maintenance check with 1 Hour. And they said, we got bad news. And I said, what was it? And I said, well, what's the bad news? They said, the bad news is your furnace is dead. I said, my furnace is almost new. They said, that's the bad news, isn't it? I said, it's horrible news. But I had the maintenance check done. Had I not had the maintenance check done and just waited till the first cold spell, I would have turned on the furnace and it wouldn't have worked. And that would have been problematic, right? That would have been a real problem. And then I'm freezing. So I do the maintenance check to make sure there's nothing going to be problematic on the first day. Well, but your furnace is dead, right? Well, they said, don't worry, we'll have a new one in here tomorrow. I said, oh, what's that going to cost me? They said, oh, sir, this is 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning, sir. We have the best warranties and guarantees in the industry. And sure enough, the next morning, they were bringing in one of the brand new furnaces in, putting it installed, walked away, signed a paper, and boom, they took care of me. And all of that because of the maintenance check and the arrangement that we have just to make sure 1 Hour Heating and Air Conditioning is taken care of you. So 855-1-HOUR, 855-1-HOUR, 1hourheatandAir.com/Jimmy Lakey. And again, if you're not using them for that maintenance check, don't blame me when in August your air conditioning breaks down and then you go, I didn't know it had a problem. Well, it doesn't have a service engine zoom light on you. You got to have that thing checked out. They'll get it all cleaned up, fired up, and then they can tell you if there's a potential problem. All right, I'm running a couple of minutes behind schedule because I'm yapping here, but I want to bring in Laura Carno. Carno Tuesday. For years on the radio, now we get to meet together face-to-face. We used to only see each other face-to-face like once a year, and now, Laura, because of the new Streamcast and now podcast, we get to see each other every week. It's amazing.
I know. And I can't do this in my pajamas anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I have to put on pants. Well, actually, I don't. Actually, you only said you know. Yeah, I lied. I don't have to put on my pants. It's awkward when producer Chad walks through and good Lord Delilah's trying to stay out of the room. But listen, if I don't want to put on pants, I'm not putting on pants.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the podcast. So
The beauty of it. Producer Chad wants different camera angles, and I'm like, I might have to put on pants if you do that. So it's I don't want to do that.
yeah.
Not going to do that. Laura Carno, let's talk about this 100 days. Oh, by the way, a question of the day I have, besides 100 days, is they did a study and said that the bad habits of our yesteryear start catching up with us with health issues and other issues about the age of 36. I didn't have a lot of bad habits in high school or college. I wasn't a drinker or a partier. But I would say my metabolism around 36, 37, I went, what happened to my metabolism? I used to, I don't know what happened. What age did it catch up with Laura Carno? I mean, you were a fountain of youth, obviously, looking in the camera. Do you remember an age or a time where you're like, okay, I think it's life is catching up with me here?
Yeah, like you, I didn't have that many bad habits, although I did grow up in California in the 70s and 80s. So there, bad habits are all around. But I didn't, wasn't a big drinker or smoker or anything like that. But I would say mid 40s, and all of your female listeners and viewers will understand exactly what I mean. It's when our estrogen says, you know what, we're done here. We're leaving, and then everything turns to pot. So, it stop burning calories and all that stuff. But it's all good.
Yeah, that's why. Maybe it's. I got checked for low T. I had an advertisement. They said, check you for low T. I did, and I was fine with the testosterone. So I just said my metabolism stopped, but maybe it was my estrogen that caused me to start not burning calories. I don't know.
Well, you don't want too much.
Yeah, I don't want too much.
You don't want the. I don't even know how to say this on your show.
I don't want that.
You don't want chest. You don't want a female
Chesticles.
chest on a male body.
Yeah, because it's yeah. Some people call those boobs, man boobs, boobs.
Man boobs.
Yeah, boobs. Yeah. Chesticles is what I like to call them, though. The chesticles. You don't want
That's
chesticles.
Good. That's good.
We should move on. We should talk about something else.
We should.
Let's talk about Trump's 100 days. 100 days marked. X marks the spot today. Big rally in Michigan. We can start with the easy one, the grade level. Do you think he gets an A, B, C? I think the entertainment level's been A+. That's for sure.
Yeah, entertainment level for sure is way up there. And nobody can throw any rotten vegetables at me here because I'm alone in my office. But I'm going to give him about a B. And why I give him a B is everything is amazing, but I am not convinced on these tariffs. And I'm happy to come back in a few weeks if I was completely wrong. But I love the tariffs as a cudgel against countries that are doing us bad. I love that. It's a threat. It's there's carrot and stick. That's the stick. And if it all comes together, and by local or recent news, there's a deal almost in the offing with India that could be the template for all of the other deals with the big trading partners, that could, really break everything wide open. But the Trump administration, not all of them, there's some differences of opinion and nuance on these tariffs. Some of the people in the Trump administration, including sometimes the president himself, are saying this is going to be a long-term way to fund the government. And there's just not enough, unless you are tariffing everybody 20%, you're not going to get enough to fund the government and make income tax go away. And then that just becomes inflationary. So I am dubious, but I'm happy to be proven wrong if they turn out to be amazing. But we need, for the midterms, we need this economy to be rocking, or the president is going to lose his majorities in the House and Senate, and we cannot afford that. So I'm going to give him a B, maybe a B+, because everything else is so amazing.
Laura, let me ask you this question, a political strategery question. A lot of folks contemplate and conversate that the Democrats, no matter what Trump's doing, good, bad, or ugly, they can't seem to get their footing. And I'm talking about nationally. You got Bernie and AOC out there screaming about the oligarchs while they fly around in private jets. That's kind of weird. You have Cory Booker and Hakeem Jeffries doing a sit-in on the steps of the Capitol on Saturday and Sunday. And some guys showed up and started singing songs, and they're all trying to. It's the weirdest stuff. Yes, we want the economy to be moving by the midterms, to be booming and moving, but have you ever seen the National Democrat Party so, I guess, feckless in their opposition?
Yeah, I read something on Twitter yesterday that President Trump has been blessed with the best enemies, because they should be. If I was the opposition, I'd be focused on the economy and say he's had 100 days and look what's happened. But instead, you're right, that sing-along, sit-in,
whatever that was.
I don't know what that was on the steps of the Capitol, but it's not the first time Democrats have gotten together and sang weird songs, and senators and members of Congress are behind him going, I think I'm supposed to sing along, but this is really awkward. There's a different world out there that I don't belong to that thinks that's okay, but it's just weird.
Very strange. I like that. The president has been blessed with very good enemies, and that's probably true because it's hard, though, for them to come out and say it's the economy, because they were telling us how great the economy was under Joe Biden. You had to reelect Joe Biden so that it would continue, or Kamala Harris. So they lied so much that they couldn't be honest, and now they think they have a tough time figuring out what their plan of attack is. We shall see what will happen in the future. Laura, I have another question for you besides the first 100 days. This is a story you sent me from X, is that we remember the strategic petroleum reserves and how Joe Biden, when the price of gas and fuel would go up at the pump, he would drain them. There's a story on X that it wasn't just... some real literal damage was done.
Right. And Chris Wright, the Secretary of Energy from Colorado, my state, your state, was on CNBC yesterday, and they were talking about lots of things in the economy related to the energy sector. And he broke this news. I hadn't heard it anywhere else. But he broke this news and said that during the near the end of the Biden administration, and folks might remember that he released fuel from the strategic petroleum reserves, in part, I would say in totality, to bring the gas prices down during the election to try and help Kamala Harris, which wasn't a help. What Chris Wright said is that they drained it so quickly, and there are I learned a little bit about this. There are 4 locations for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and he drained 2 of the 4 so quickly that it actually damaged the equipment. Wow. And now we, the taxpayers, have to use tax money to pay to repair equipment that was damaged because they were getting it out of the reserve so quickly in order to try and jack with the economy and help Kamala Harris. So you look at these things, little in the grand scheme of things from a financial standpoint, but this is real money to real people, and when you add them all up, it's actually real money to the country as well.
Yeah. One more quick question before I go to my next guest on this very topic. Over the weekend down southern Colorado, closer to you than to me, but not all that close to you, evidently there was a big underground nightclub operating down in Colorado Springs. A bunch of arrests were made, 100. Some of those are actually active duty U.S. military that were either employed as guards or security detail there. But what the heck's happening? By the way, did you ever get an invitation to the underground club?
Number one, no, I am not that cool to get invitations to any clubs. But I don't think I would have been welcome there anyway. But yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know if you feel this way too, Jimmy, watching TV in Colorado, but when you watch national news and you keep seeing Colorado on national news,
Yeah.
and I just go, here we are again. What?
Yeah.
What? How did we become such a magnet for all this stuff? I mean, some might say it's because the I-25 corridor, goes down to the border, and it's a major thoroughfare. But goodness gracious, yeah, I have friends in Colorado Springs who were talking about the local news coverage on it, and that it, what a big deal that was. But thank goodness that the Trump administration has an agency arm that is willing to go after criminals like this.
Well, we wonder how we got here, Laura. Remember, we have a governor that when Trende Aragua was taking things over in Aurora, he
No, they
said
weren't.
there's nothing to see here. There's not there. And
Yep.
evidently they weren't just in Aurora. Evidently they're still hanging out in Colorado Springs as well. So this is what you get when you have an idiot governor like Jared Polis, sanctuary policies, and they don't let you communicate with ICE. This is what happens when you're a sanctuary state. Thank you, Jared Polis.
Yep, exactly. Elections have consequences. These policies have consequences. And I hope that this is the year, or this is the term next year, that Coloradans are ticked off enough at how bad this state is compared to other states, compared to what it used to be, and get rid of these Democrats who have ruined this beautiful state.
Yep. Laura Carno, always a pleasure. Faster Colorado, that's your organization, fastercolorado.org. Folks can go learn what you do to keep kids safe in schools in Colorado. Throw a few bucks towards Laura's organization, fastercolorado.org. Matter of fact, throw a lot of money towards her organization, and she's keeping kids safe from violence on the school campus. When the shooter shows up, you want to make sure that those kids are protected. God forbid the shooter shows up, but if it happens, you need to make sure that there's trained staff ready to go, and that's what fastercolorado.org does, fastercolorado.org. Let me mention the name, if I can, of Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com, a great sponsor of the program. Always appreciate having to get to tell you about Sherry. Listen, I've got to mention this to you. We are in that season where I've seen a lot of yard signs go up. Recently, driving down through some streets, they put their house up for sale. Oh, that house is for sale. Oh, look, an open house coming Saturday. Listen, there's the inventory starts to pick up right now, so you need to have somebody that can, first of all, get you into the right place for sort through it all, but also make your house, if you're listing it, stand out, and she can do that. She's a white glove realtor, meaning full service. She'll help take care of everything for you. But it's not just about sticking that sign up in the yard short term. It's really about a long-term relationship she would love to have for you. And she's got so many clients through the years that call her up 2, 3, 4, 5 years later and say, hey, Sherry, we're going to move, we're going to buy, we're going to sell. Well, they call her again. She wants that relationship for life. She wants to become your realtor for life. And in doing so, she can help you kind of navigate the decisions you're making with great advice, great insight, so that ultimately your real estate transactions are building up. They're building up generational wealth, and that's what she believes you can do with real estate. Listen, if you're a first responder, a veteran, a military folks out there, listen, she's going to discount her commissions for you to make it more affordable. She also likes to take care of those people that are caretakers of family. You maybe need a home that's specifically that you can care for someone better. Again, what are the specifics you're looking for? How can she help you? Have that conversation and then make the right decision. I'll have her on next week. I know she's been busy, but we'll have Sherry back on, talk about what this market looks like as we now head into May, and what does the month of May and beyond look like in real estate in Colorado. But you owe it to yourself. Go to her website, make a call, homeswithsherry.com, 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 Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. And again, anywhere to that I-25 corridor. If you're down in the Parker, Aurora area, if you're up in the Fort Collins, Loveland area, Greeley as well, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Make sure that you let her know that I have told you to be in touch with her, homeswithsherry.com. All right. Sorry, my computer is acting a little bit goofy here on the program, so we'll figure that out. I asked a question early in the program. It's our question of the day. We're awaiting the arrival for a few more moments of John O'Connor to talk about those hundreds of illegals that were arrested over the weekend in Colorado Springs. And Laura does bring up a good point. A lot of you have followed me from radio in Colorado, and so you're listening to the program or watching the program. What does it tell you about your state that suddenly we're always seeming to be in the top news stories? If you do a story about crime in America right now, Colorado and Denver specifically has to be noted as one of the crime centers of America. We've been leading car thefts forever. I mean, car thieving is a big business here in the state of Colorado. Hasn't always been. People say, well, it's the I-25 corridor. Well, maybe, but that I-25 corridor has been there a long time. And only under the days of Jared Polis has the state become such an attraction for some really bad hombres out there. So you have to ask yourself, what is it that Colorado has done wrong that has caused Colorado to become not just California or East LA, but what have we done wrong to really set the trend in some really crazy stuff? And then you have a governor. This is the feckless leadership of Jared Polis. This is what a lying sack of Joia he is. When Tren de Aragua was in Aurora taking over the apartment complex, the video was out there. Jared Polis says that's not real. It's not happening, that they're not there. This is not a big deal. Jared Polis, listen to me. If he ever runs for president, you need to know Jared Polis is a liar. If his mouth is moving, he's a liar. He lied, he gaslit, and he said, those videos you saw of Tren de Aragua, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. He's a liar. Jared Polis needs to explain that if Tren de Aragua was not in Aurora, as he said they weren't, because he's a liar, how did the gang members, MS-13, Tren de Aragua, why did all these gang members end up in a party club in Colorado Springs? According to Jared, the lying governor of the state of Colorado, according to Jared, we don't have a problem with gangs and crime. According to Jared, we don't have a problem with criminal activity in Colorado. Except every time ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, shows up, we seem to get rid of a buttload of illegals. So either Jared is lying or they're making up the identity of illegal aliens. So Jared, have you been lying about the crime problem we have? Jared, were you aware? Have you in the state done anything to get rid of these hundreds of illegals that got arrested in Colorado Springs? Did you do anything? No, what they did is they tied the hand of local law enforcement. So when they arrested these scum, when they arrested these criminals that came into our country without permission, when they arrested these scums, the local sheriff, local police department were not allowed to call ICE and say, hey, we've got scum number one back in the cell if you want to take him out of the country. Jared Polis forbade that. Jared Polis would rather these scum illegal gang members dwell and live among us in the state of Colorado. He would rather you have to be their neighbor than for them to have to go home and get the hell out of our country. That's the disgusting behavior of Jared Polis and every Democrat down at the state legislature, and that's what we're living in. So Laura Carno brings up a very fantastic point, and the fantastic point is, isn't it interesting that Colorado continues to be headline news, especially when it comes to gangbanging and illegal aliens? We continue to be headline news from Aurora, Colorado to Colorado Springs, and yet our governor has, in the local media, they question him. Mr. Governor, you swore that Tren de Aragua was not in Aurora, but obviously they were. Had you been turning a blind eye to the criminal elements running in Colorado Springs? Jared, do you care? Do you give a rat's ass about anything in the state? The story is going to be told about Jared Polis, and I'll give you a year to start working up to this, as he's term limited. Name one thing that has become better in Colorado because of Jared Polis. What will Jared Polis's legacy be on the positive side? There is none. The guy is a fool. He is a failure. He has done nothing to better this state. Every trackable instance, whether it's education, transportation, taxation, cost of living, all of those have gone. I think people would say it's gotten worse here in Colorado. And yet Jared Polis is out there saying he wants to run for president and pretending that there's no crime problem in Colorado. Disgusting. That's hey, some of you voted for him, and elections have consequences, so suck it up, buttercup, and enjoy every moment of it. And some of us didn't vote for him, and we get very frustrated. Very frustrated. I'm looking at the expats there. There's Arloa popping up. She's an expat, moved from Colorado to Texas to escape the tyranny of Jared Polis and his wife, husband, Marlon. They're tyrants, I'm telling you. We got to release the wolves out there. What are we going to do? Oh, rural Colorado. We don't like rural Colorado. Let's put some wolves out there, though. Let's ship the wolves in from Canada. Canada's giving away free wolves. Let's ship the wolves in from Canada so we can eat some farmers' cows, because we have no respect for farmers and ranchers in Colorado. That's Jared Polis. He really is. All right, Arloa's commenting. That comment was no drugs or drinking, but she does like cookies, cakes, and ice cream. Way too much. I don't have that problem. I went the other night. Remember I told you I went to Casa Bonita, the legendary restaurant last week, and they have some sopapillas, and I like the sopapilla. That's it. That's all the sweetness I need. Somebody's ordering dessert, and every time I go somewhere, they hey, do you want dessert? Do you want some ice cream? And I'm not really have a sweet tooth. And people get shocked by that. They're like, I don't. How do you have a shock by? How do you not have a sweet tooth? Why is that so shocking that I don't really necessarily? If I'm at a dessert bar, let's say with the Vegas buffet, and there's a bunch of desserts, none of it's going to catch my attention. The only thing that might catch my attention, cheesecake. A good cheesecake, I am a sucker for. But that's not overly sweet. There's a little bit of that cream cheese in it. But nevertheless, Arloa, she doesn't do the drugs or anything, but she does enjoy her. She does enjoy her. Yeah, she does enjoy the cakes and the cookies. Well, good for you, Arloa. Good for you. I just saw on the screen that I have been dubbed as the outlaw of the streamcast. You know, everywhere I go, I'm like an outlaw. It's like Johnny Cash. I'm an outlaw, man in black. Except this is blue, by the way. This is blue. I just want you to know this is blue shirts. Almost all my shirts are blue. If I show up and hear anything but blue shirts, which may appear black, but they are actually blue, then you are going to freak out. You'll do that. By the way, did you hear the little hubbub they're trying to criticize Donald Trump for wearing a blue suit to the Pope's funeral? And some jackass on the New York Post or MSNBC made some big deal about a blue suit. Well, the truth be known is that the blue suit was worn by Prince William. There were several that the honest media would go, and that was on, I think, Jesse Waters or Fox. They put up a montage of everyone that wore a blue suit. And by the way, the invitation to the funeral just said dark clothing. These are the same media that did not get bothered by Vladimir Zelensky not even wearing a suit, dressed like he was about to do an aerobics workout. But it's just amazing to watch the meltdown over a blue suit, and yet forgetting to tell you the other world leaders that were not wearing black suits. All right, I asked the question of the day. We're going to wrap it up, do this meme roulette here in a second. That's the question of the day. At which point of life, how old were you when your body started to things started to catch up with you? Maybe it was bad habits. Maybe it was just age. Maybe it's your metabolism. They did a study, and the study says at age 36 is when a lot of the bad habits start to catch up with you. Maybe you're a long-term runner and jogged, and all of a sudden about 36 or so, your knees start hurting. I mean, even there's a good habit. At which age did you start having those health issues that you said, wow, I didn't have these problems when I got older, when I was younger, and I didn't have them until I got older. Rich says, I did too much physical work, construction contractor. Rich is in the chat room. He says, my body gave out at 50. I'm 53 now, raised 7 kids, 2 still at home. I worked too much hard labor, not regretting it. It's just what we had to do to make it. I have drank more alcohol after 40, though. Still working, just changed what I do. So Rich is a hardworking man. Yeah, see, that was me. I started drinking more after my 40. So if drinking in your teens and 20s doesn't catch up to you till you're 36, then if I didn't start really drinking until really my 40s, became a lover of the whiskey with my cigars, then it won't catch up to me till I'm 70, right? Or something like that. I don't know. Yeah, no, the problem with the bourbon is it has a high caloric value. And even if you're doing the keto, your body burns that first. And all right, listen, I took about 6 months off and just detoxed a little bit and just tried to be very healthy about 5-6 months last year. Yeah, I dropped that 20 or 30, 25, 30 pounds. I mean, boom, just, yeah. Because I don't eat a lot, but I do like a little shot of whiskey here and there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we were missing John O'Connor. Not sure where he went to this morning, but he's obviously not here. So we are going to wrap this show up and wrap it up with the meme roulette. Ladies and gentlemen, we spin the globe because around and around the world we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. No thanks, McDonald's. I'll just have the nuggets. They have a misspelling on the marquee there. Try the new. What were they trying to spell? Anus pounder? I don't know what they were trying to spell. That was just a high school kid putting, I'll just stick with the nuggets as well. Thank you. If that's what you're offering, I'll just stick with the nuggets. Thank you very much. By the way, I was following that outlaw thing. I said I'm the outlaw of the streamcast. Ladies and gentlemen, was also known as the redheaded stepchild of talk radio. Yeah, redheaded stepchild. Never got any respect from management or corporate, but they sure did like me to get out there and talk like a wind-up monkey tied to an organ. Yeah, get out there and talk. We're not going to respect you, not going to love you, not going to put anything into your show. You carry the show on your own shoulders. That's why I was the redheaded stepchild. Outlaw the stream term. Oh, Angus. They're trying to spell Angus. Thank you. Rich jumps in here. I said, well, does McDonald's have an Angus burger? Yeah, they should put the G back up. I'm thinking they should put the G back up. That's what I'm thinking. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here we go. Based on my Saturday morning cartoon education, there's a photo of a boulder. If you're listening on the podcast, there's either a coyote under that boulder or the paint on the tunnel is still wet. Yeah, it's a good cartoon. Younger generation don't get it. That's a great cartoon. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Sorry, I have to cough. Trump issues striped robes for federal judges. Babylon Bee headline. You know, that may not be a bad idea. Matter of fact, there's a couple of judges that probably should really contemplate that. They should. Trump issues striped robes for federal judges. Always great to go to the Babylon Bee for some headline. Round and round the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I got to do this. When you want to know, but don't want to be obvious. A guy is standing out on his front lawn with a vacuum cleaner as if he's working outside, but he's looking down to be nosy and see what's happening at the neighbor's house. So yeah, hey, let's go out and look busy. Let's look like we're working in the yard a little bit and find out what's happening in the neighbor's house. Good for him. Let's do, I think we got one more, maybe. Let's do it. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here we go. Me walking into HR because the joke I made was so funny they wanted to hear it in person. Now, I know from experience, you usually don't get called in to tell the joke in person, but sometimes I feel that way. Yeah, so sometimes when you call somebody, a lazy fat ass in the office and they say, you need to come have a talk with us, I'm like, oh, well, I'll have a talk with you. I'll call you a lazy fat ass as well. No, I never called anybody a lazy fat ass to their face. Right around the globe we go. If we have any more memes, we're going to steal them from where we don't know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have milked the meme machine dry. And for that, you're welcome. And I'm sorry. Hear how raspy my voice is getting? It's because of this dang allergy thing that I can't seem to shake. But I'm here. I'm doing the show. And I'm glad to have you here with us. Don't forget, May 17th. Today's the day to register. May 17th for a casino gala. It's for Rivers Promise, the charity that you see listed on the wall behind me, right here in the House of Lakey Studios. And make sure you're there. It's going to be the Omni Hotel. It's going to be a fantastic night. There's going to be food. There's going to be a cash bar for you. Yeah, cigars are welcome. It's kind of an outdoor pavilion, so there'll be some fire pits. It's going to be a great night. Frank Sinatra will be there, resurrected from the dead. And Frank will be there. Great food, great hors d'oeuvres. The menu's being selected now. And it's at the Omni Hotel. It's all benefiting Rivers Promise. May 17th, go to riverspromise.org. riverspromise.org to sign up and get your ticket. And the price is going to go up soon. So if you haven't registered, get a whole table, by the way. If you've got an office or some colleagues that you would like to bring, expose them to not a great night of entertainment, but also a great night of charitable giving. There's a table sponsorship available. Make sure you have a great table of 8 people and you'll have a great time there. And it's going to be a fantastic night. You just need to be there. Riverspromise.org has the registration information. Riverspromise.org, May 17th. I hope to see you there. And if I don't see you there, I'll be very sad. Don't make Brother Jimmy sad. Listen, don't make me sad. Make sure you're there. Riverspromise.org. And if you can't go ahead and go to Rivers Promise and just make a donation and say, this is because I can't go to casino night, but here's a donation. Help the kids. We got a big fundraising goal. We have a food bit. Let's just say the food bill in Rwanda, feeding so many kids, puts me under stress every month. So you can help us out. Riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to wrap it up. I'll try to see what happened to John O'Connor. Not exactly sure what happened to him, but we'll get him back on the show. He's always great to talk to him. He's the guy that was Deep Throat's attorney back in the day. Remember him? Yeah, O'Connor was supposed to be with us, but he was a no-show. But that's okay. We had plenty of conversation together. Don't forget, go to all of the podcast platforms if you're not already there. If you're watching this live, you can listen to the show again. It's going to be in just moments. It'll be up in it. Yeah, it's going to be at the Apple Podcast, the iHeart Podcast. It's going to be on Spotify. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening on the podcast version, don't forget to watch us live on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook on several feeds, and the Twitter, wherever you're listening to the program, whether you're watching the live show right now with me or whether you're listening to us in the podcast later in the day. I mean this from the bottom of my heart to all of our sponsors. Thank you. If you'd like us to brag about your business, send an info at Jimmy Lakey. An email to info@JimmyLakey, info@JimmyLakey.com. Until we meet again, may God bless you. May God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here. I need to go cough. That's what I need to do right now.